everybody. So, guys, welcome to this week's Ace Talks. This week, if you're a photography enthusiast, you are going to love it. We have Prashant Bhatt with us, who is a internationally renowned photographer. He has worked with some of the best designers in our country, and he has almost a silver jubilee in clicking photos. Personally speaking, he has clicked photos of architects like Charles Correa, and he has worked with architects like AUM Architects. And I think being an architect, if someone has worked with Charles Correa, that's such an inspiration to even talk to such a person. So I would warmly want to welcome our guest for today, Prashant Bhatt. So I'll just get him on with us. Please, guys, whatever questions y'all are having, and if you have not sent us questions prior to this, do send us these questions during the chat as well, and we will as well. Hi, Prashant. How are you?
Hi Raj, how are you? I'm good.
I'm good too. How are you?
Very fine, very fine. Tell me.
Yeah. First of all, let me say how much of an honor it is to actually speak to you, because I think I was very inspired by just your photos since I think last 1.5 year. And you have worked with such amazing architects. I mean, for us to just hear them in college and then actually to talk to a person who has interacted with their organizations and clicked photos for them is such a privilege. And I'm so glad that you can speak to so many of our viewers as well.
My pleasure too. I saw that it's an institution, so I was more than happy. I realized there could be students, budding photographers, people who are interested but not sure how to start photography. So I thought, why not? Let me just help. It's my honor, in fact, to join on your forum.
Thank you so much again for that. That's really sweet of you. So let's begin by first of all telling the viewers what is it about photography, about the passion that you have for it. What is your background on this on the subject, and what have you been doing in the last couple of years?
Okay. In a way, you'll be surprised, but in a way, it will be quite motivating for other people who wants to consider photography as a profession. That I have no trained photography background. I'm a commerce graduate. Photography more or less started like a need to support family income, and one thing led to other, and this is how I have landed in this field. Approximately now, this is my 27th year.
Wow. So you have completed the silver jubilee.
Yeah, so you don't have to be necessarily trained into photography or into architecture or into interior design. If you have a desire, if you have focus, if you have zest to learn things, and to keep improving yourself, I think you can do a great job.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think a lot of students who come to us, since we are an institution who trains in skill development, so we do software skills, come to us and not always from the design background or from the creative background or an architect or interior designer, but they still want to learn a couple of skills. And I think photography is a very, very important skill. And I have a lot of friends who are into it as well. So actually they were very excited to come here and, actually see you
Glad
speak.
to hear that. Glad to hear that.
So can you tell us a background on how you started photography and like how are you in it right now in the architecture and interior design portion?
Sure. So I started because a friend or somebody who I knew was into wedding photography, and he told me that you just come and join me for a few shoots, and I saw him working. I tried shooting a couple of compositions. He explained me. See, it wasn't digital time then. It was about negatives and flash. So he showed me how to adjust the flash when you're taking close-ups, how when you're taking mid shots, how when you're taking group photographs, because that's what you do in a wedding.
Yeah.
And so that was my basic training. I did try a couple of shoots on his camera before I could invest in a camera. And when he told me that, no, you're doing well, please, consider this as a profession. That's how photography started for me. It was more like a wedding and function photography just as a source of income. There was no sense of art or artist or nothing like that. Okay, it was more or less like a need. I was still in college then, by the way, and I was still doing my education simultaneously. So when I finished my third year, I had two choices. Either I could have gone to MBA in marketing, which I had inclination towards. Second choice was to pursue a career in photography. But wedding photography then was not respected as a profession. Okay, it was
I
not
can explain.
considered as an art. There was like quite a lot of limitations were there from the budget point of view, from the restrictions point of view. Like today, you have all this pre-wedding, post-wedding.
Definitely, yes. It's massive.
Nothing was there. Whatever you had to do, whatever was your wedding time, morning 7 to afternoon 3. Within that time, you had to take your close-ups also. You had to take your mood shots also, and so it was quite a different thing, but it wasn't considered still as an art. So when I decided that I wanted to make a career, I wanted to do something which will be appreciated beyond just a source of income. I mean, the income was damn good in wedding. I will not deny that.
Okay.
So I used to shoot good close-ups. I used to shoot good portraits. So most of the people told me, why don't you try fashion? And that's how then, when I was in my TY, I used to invite all my friends, experiment on them one role, and try to shoot their portfolios. And slowly and steadily, I got a knack of that. I started getting I started getting actual work to shoot portfolios. So after TY, I quit wedding completely, and I became a full-time fashion photographer. So I started again a struggle from scratch.
Okay.
So I was not accepting a single wedding assignment because I realized I had to struggle. And if I want to focus, then I think I should not have financial support for that. Only then you will be hungry for work.
Actually,
So,
correct. Very true.
so I stopped completely. I started fashion. It took me approximately 1.5 years. I started getting work in fashion photography. I shot a lot of covers for New Woman. I shot a lot of fashion assignments. I had worked with some of the Miss Indias then, and I was doing pretty well. And at the same time, I was approached to shoot an interior design project. Now I had no clue. I had no
This would be new.
clue what I am. So because in fashion it was very easy. You have to put 2 flash bulbs, and you have to just you have to take the reading. I tried that on the first project, and I realized that after the first 5 rows, things are going dark, and I don't have enough lights.
Correct.
So then I had to compose in a way where only my flash reaches, because I didn't want to invest more money, because interior work I used to get very rarely, and it had just started, and I thought I don't want to invest in a lot of light because lights were expensive. And I said, I don't want to invest if I don't know whether, it's going to be a dead investment.
Okay.
So then with practice, I slowly realized, I started seeing other people's work, and I realized that, I don't have to use flash. The lighting is very much available on the site, and I have to just exploit it to my advantage.
Do you mean natural lighting?
No, the natural as well as ambience.
Okay, correct.
See, when you shoot an office, there is ample lighting provided by the designer. When you shoot a residence, there is ample mood created. And what you have to do is you have to just use the natural light as supplementary, where you don't change the mood of the project, but at the same time, it helps you to fill up in the dark corners.
Okay. So yeah, I mean,
sorry. Ask.
No, I mean, there's like this completely thing. How do you blend the natural as well as already the created light sources by the architect, and then get all that in one frame itself?
So that also came as a part of the need, because I did not have money to invest in the lights. So I had to keep experimenting to understand how I can improvise this, and how do I get shooting, where it doesn't feel the need that, if you were to use one light, this would have gone to next level kind of thing. And slowly and steadily, my inclination towards architecture photography started increasing. I started getting equal amount of work in both fashion and interiors. I realized I was finding it difficult to keep changing my frame of mind from architecture to fashion next day, and from fashion to architecture next day. So at one point I had to choose one, and I chose architecture and interior design.
Okay.
So again, when I chose, I almost stopped. I wrapped my fashion portfolio, and after that day, I never met anybody as a fashion photographer.
Oh, you just left it like completely.
I just left it. Whoever my existing client still continued with me for almost couple of years, but
Okay.
even they realized later on that I wasn't quite
Not
keen on it,
interested.
and
Yeah.
I used to rather recommend them, why don't you work with this guy, because I knew I won't be able to give justice to
Correct. Correct.
the
Definitely.
kind of work they are expecting for the money they are spending.
Definitely. So when was I think the first time you ever worked with an architectural or an interior design client, whichever the one came first?
I didn't get, sorry.
Like how many years back did you start? Like which was like 10 years, 15 years
Ooh, I
in
think
architecture
it was,
specifically?
yeah, in interior design, I think it was in 95, 94, 94.
Wow. Okay.
94 was my first job. I think my first job was my first job for a modular furniture manufacturer called Rosentique Modular System. Amar Desai was the principal of that particular firm. And that was my first shoot. It was more like
Okay.
a mock-up they had built in a exhibition hall.
Right. Definitely. Okay. And then you
And
had to like get the entire shot done.
then I shot that, and I was still not interested. He requested me, so I just honored his request. And thankfully, it was a small stall. Two flashlights that I had was lighting the entire stall, so I didn't have any problem.
Wow.
So
That's
that's how I
awesome.
misunderstood. So that's how I misunderstood, because it was in an exhibition hall, and I thought, okay, this is how it's supposed to be done.
Because in the when you're shooting, I think like a model, right? So you like in fashion when you be shooting a model, like it would be in a particular room where you need the lighting. Here you're getting the
Yes,
lighting from everywhere.
so there are two ways in fashion. Either you're doing a outright outdoor shoot
Yeah.
with help of a few reflectors, where you can use thermocol or silver foil as your reflector, or you're doing a complete indoor shoot where the lighting is completely under your control. So when I went for the interior shoot, I thought, okay, this is indoor and this is how I'm supposed to treat it.
Hmm. Correct. So and that was your first project basically. Yeah.
I think
So a lot of
I'm
my friends who are architects or interior designers, they have a very
okay.
big inclination towards going for photography. And I've seen this a lot of the times. And one of the biggest questions, I mean, a lot of students have asked me also is, can we go full time into, photography, or do we find a blend, or like, I mean, I think they've done a degree for 5 years and now they're like, okay, so can I be a photographer? But I think it's completely fine because I'm completely into skill-based careers. So what were you?
Okay. First of all, you asked me whether they can choose. Yeah. So first of all, you asked me if they can choose this as a full-time field. I feel whatever field you choose, you should choose it as a full-time field. I mean, within photography, I could not focus on both fashion and interiors, and I had to choose only interiors as my full-time field. So if you're thinking that you're going to be a part-time interior designer and a part-time photographer, I don't think that's going to work for you. So you have to give yourself your 100% to what you want to do. There is a struggle. You have to go through your struggle, and I think that makes you stronger. Your
Such a
question
big
was about your question was about if the architecture and design students have a edge to over the this thing. I will say not even edge. I'll say rather they have an advantage now.
Okay.
First of all, it's no photography is no longer done on negative rolls anymore. It is done all digital. So
Correct.
when you're shooting, you don't have to wait for you to understand your mistakes. You can improvise them right then and there. Secondly, it's more difficult to understand the design ethics, which these guys are trained in. So all they need to practice is
I think we do a lot of renderings. Do you think that helps us out a little bit? I mean, the 3D
see
work.
in rendering, what you do is something called perspectives.
Okay.
Photography is all about perspective. How you look at the project, how you want to present it, whether you want it a 1 point or a 2 point, when you want close-ups, what you want in the composition, what you want to leave outside the composition. You know your details, you know your lighting, and that's exactly what is expected out of you. It's just that you need to practice a little to understand and develop a good portfolio. Once you do that, I think designers and architects understand it so much better to begin with. I mean, I had a struggle for 3 years just to understand the terminologies.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, it might be funny for you, but to knowing a board table, what is a boardroom table, what is a six-seater, eight-seater, what is a round conference room, what is a side table, what is a center table, reception table, these are terminologies that come to you so easily.
Okay.
Okay, for me, I had to
Actually,
start from there.
yeah. I just would like to just, on that same point which you said, where you had a problem with the terminologies, I can completely understand you, I feel, because one of my very close friends, her name is Sanjana Reddy, she was a fashion designer previously. And she has
Okay,
worked with, good, like she's worked with Masaba Gupta. So she's really worked in
okay.
with the entire, entire that client. So whenever she would speak of something or a terminology she would use of bidding, or I don't know. So it was very like, I mean, I had no idea, and I can totally
It's
assume that
Greek and
Prashi was
Latin.
also, yeah.
So yeah, I did fashion, so I used to understand the terminology then. Then the problem I started facing was after I quit it for maybe a year and a half later, I had no clue what they were talking, and yeah, so but that's why I had to quit it completely because you can't keep shuffling. And whatever you're doing, you should understand it in depth. Once you have the knowledge to understand what the designer has put on that project and what he might be expecting out of it becomes much easy.
Yeah. So you really think that architects and interior designers would have edge if they have if they're getting into the photography field?
100% if they practice and if they perform and they learn a little bit of how to use the software. Okay,
Yeah.
they definitely have more edge than a photographer trying to become an interior design photographer. I think an architect trying to become an interior design photographer has definitely more edge. He has more edge.
More edge than that. Okay. So, can you tell us, apart from just knowing how to, click photos, what is you any top like 2 3 softwares of yours which you would say is good for post production?
I'll tell you one thing very frankly. When I started, there were no softwares and there were no post production.
Yeah.
You send it to the lab would develop. You make a contact sheet, you select the images, you send it to another lab, that lab will print it for you and you submit. So whatever you're shooting had to be 90 to 95% perfect while you were shooting. So whether it is perspectives, whether it is about having all the lines parallel, all four lines parallel, which now you can easily manage on a software with perspective correction, wasn't the choice. So you had to use your tripod to make sure that all four lines are parallel, or whether in a 2 point perspective, both the lines are parallel. You knew there was a choice maybe of cropping, but that would spoil the image. So you had to make sure your composition is 100%. So that is part one. Part two, a use of a software is, I mean, when you have your composition clear in your mind even before you are editing it, the software is more useful if you have a clear vision about what you want to shoot and how you want to use the software. It's not the software that's going to help you if the content that you have shot has no substance.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so software I use a little bit of Photoshop and little bit of Lightroom. But yeah, even today I can proudly say that my 90% image is perfect when I'm shooting on the first.
I would just like to say that I think that's why exactly where you are compared to, I guess, a lot of people who say that they could benefit or increase the quality of the image through a software.
You definitely can increase the quality of the image provided you have an image.
Definitely. If you have the
Okay,
elements and everything in the image.
so if you don't have a content, you can't create a composition just by using a software. The content has to be there in the original image.
Very true. Yeah. So now I am an architect, right? So I mean, we do deal with interior design works as well. But what would you say is the difference between, or a very like a quite a difference between architectural photography and interior photography?
I
Would
think
that?
they're completely different from one another.
Okay.
Architecture is obviously is lot about the light, the sunlight, the shadows, the shapes, the unique blend of different materials. I mean, the type of fabric used, whether it is flooring, whether it is just the merging of two different materials in a building or in a structure. And it's a completely different thing. You know, you have to understand what has been done. You have to understand your east and west. You should know what time, what light will filter from where, what kind of shadows it's going to create. And the structure has to look equally beautiful, both in the daylight as well as in the lighting. I mean, all the structures are lit these days by the architect, so you have to make a combination of that also.
Yeah.
Interiors is within four walls, but at the same time, I don't like to treat it that way. I have always used sheer or open windows to make sure if the exterior is interesting, I always like to make it a part of the design. Now in the cities, at times it's really difficult because next to your window is another building, and what you see is somebody else's living room.
Yeah.
So then you have to use a little bit of sheer curtain, and you have to make sure that, but you still allow to feel that the room doesn't end there. It goes beyond that, and the exterior element is also a part of the interior. And interior, you need a lot of pre-preparation. No site is ready, or not, I won't say no site is ready. Most of the sites are not ready the way you want them. So creating permutation combinations by using books and artifacts and plants and cushions and throw cushions. So you make sure that you uplift by styling it properly based on the angles that you have in mind and how you want to shoot it. So once you do that, then the camera comes into the picture. So it's not like you just go there with your camera and start shooting. It's never like that. Yeah. At least first hour and a half goes into organizing the place properly. Sometimes the ratio of an artifact is wrong. Sometimes the plant is too big or too small. So you have to keep making, I mean, you understand it from the point of view of your composition. So you have to make sure that, you know, I don't want this here, this goes into that room, I don't want that. Or there are certain things which are overpowering the composition. There are certain things which are making the composition loose because there is not enough content. So you have to do those permutation combinations, make it ready, and then the shooting starts. In architecture, obviously the structure is ready. All you can do is add a little human element. Or you know, you see the foreground, you see what is in the sky. Sometimes you get a clear blue sky, sometimes you get clouds, sometimes there is a stone flooring in the front, sometimes there is nice grass and there is nice landscape and all that. So you have to use all that to your advantage and make sure that the entire combination looks like one.
Yeah. So I mean, I as an architect, I can understand a little bit about what you're talking about, the composition, because a lot of times the way the living room or the bedroom might be designed, there might be certain things that you just need in the photograph to actually get that really good click of yours with a really good frame which you have taken. So I completely understand that. Now we have one question from our viewer who has already actually asked this previously. He's from Uday Shah. How can one get all details of design, such as zigzag patterns on a wall, into a frame and give the design justice through photography? Like, could there be some? I think he's asking, could there be some different elements or something, and how do we capture all
he's talking about different element textures, or maybe a wallpaper, or it could be of anything. So each element gets highlighted in a particular lighting. Now, either if the lighting is flat, that if you have only bounce lights, sometimes the elements don't show. So you have to switch off your bounce lights, you have to work on the direct lights, switch off all the indirect lights, and then you have to find an angle where that element highlights the most. It's a myth that in one image you can highlight all the elements. For each element, if there are multiple elements, for each element, you may have to make a composition where not necessarily the composition is for the element, but in that composition, that particular element gets highlighted in the perfect manner. But it has to happen naturally. It shouldn't happen that I'm just taking the close-up of the zigzag pattern. If the zigzag pattern is in the bedroom, then the bed, the headboard, the other elements should also stand out equally, but the zigzag pattern might get a little more visibility in the composition. And you have to balance it. Otherwise, it becomes a product shoot from an interior shoot when you just start taking tighter close-up of elements.
Right. So you're going to have to search that perfect shot also, right?
You have to search for it. You actually get it. Once you are there, you know, okay, this is the highlight. This is what the element is. This has to show, because it's not like people do too many elements in one project. In each room, there are usually maybe 1, 4, 5, whatever is the number of elements, out of which couple of them are supposed to stand out. So you have to compose it in a manner, and not every composition that pattern has to hide. You can take certain shots for just as a room. You can take certain close-up just for a certain element. You can take a composition with multiple elements, whereas all those elements together make a single photograph, but the design is getting highlighted. And then you take certain shots for a highlighted element like that zigzag pattern.
Okay. So like you have to find the shot, and then you kind of particularly take 3, 4, then kind of scrutinize exactly what it is.
So that's what I said. What you do for first 1.5 hours is, so you go through the entire project, and you, in your head, you make a map that what is the highlight of which room. Based on that, you decide what kind of artifacts and what kind of styling has to happen in that room. And once you're clear in your head, then you give one room at a time you shoot, and you give your 100% to that.
Okay. So going back to one of the questions which we got by a viewer only right now, which is can a architectural student get into architectural photography after completing graduation? Do you think there's some kind of a course you should be doing, or is it that you take the camera and start? Or what do you think? What would you kind of tell a student, or guide a student in that way?
See, if you have time to struggle, if you want to build your own style, and if you have time to struggle, take a camera. Follow. Now it's very easy now. Go to Instagram, go to Facebook, go to wherever you are on social media. Follow the best in the field, best architects, best designers, best photographers, and try to grasp whatever best you can. At my time, I had to buy the interior design magazines, and I had to go through it to understand who is doing what and who has done what. But what you don't get initially is that whatever you are seeing in a magazine is something that someone had shot almost 3 to 4 months back.
Yeah.
So you're always 3 to 4 months behind that person. So, but then to understand, to get the knowledge, I think all the forums are available now. People shoot, people post their project, like clients post the shoots within 48 hours on the Instagram, maybe one picture at a time, but they still start posting it. So it's not like earlier times where you have to wait to understand, oh, who's doing what. Now you know, okay, this is what he did last week.
Definitely.
But that is part one. Part two is to go find a photographer, assist with him, maybe for 3 months to 6 months, hang around, see what kind of work he's doing, see what is the pre-preparation goes, because that makes life much easy when you understand what happens behind the scenes. But one thing for sure,
like help for that person if he works under someone already in the field.
Exactly. But both ways, if he wants to establish himself as a professional in this field, there is definitely a struggle, and he has to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Nobody serves you that in a platter, for sure.
Definitely. One technical question, I guess, from one of our viewers itself was, can you elaborate more on the lenses used in architectural photography and a little bit about post-processing? This is just he just wanted a tip, I guess, on post-processing and what different lenses. And actually, he's one of the students from my college itself. So
Okay,
I guess, yeah.
See, first of all, you need a wide-angle lens with minimum distortion. So you can't use a fisheye. You can't use a lens where the borders are becoming curvy.
Yeah.
So you need a wide-angle with, obviously, when you use a wide-angle, there is distortion, but you should buy one which is the best, and that gives you the minimum distortion. You have softwares which correct the distortion automatically these days, so that's not a big effort, even if it's little distorted. The lens distortions are created automatically by the software. Besides that, you need use a 14-24, which is my wide angle. I have a 35 which is for the mid shots, which where we were discussing about that zigzag pattern. I told you we can click multiple elements of a room in one single composition. I think the 35 does help there. I also have a 50 which helps in taking the tighter shots where only a certain thing, like a certain element you want to keep in focus and other elements you want to keep out of focus, to highlight a certain texture or maybe a curve or maybe just a handle, and that is used more or less for absolute tight close-up where the client has designed the product.
Okay.
And I told already about the software part. I already told. I use Lightroom and Photoshop, and mostly I use Lightroom.
But 90% happens through the photograph. That's the main thing. Don't.
Yeah, and you see, as I said, there are some technicalities nowadays. As I told you, the wide angles come with the inbuilt distortion, or for that matter, all the lenses come with a bit distortion. Now, Lightroom helps you correct those distortions automatically. So does Photoshop. So for those things, you are definitely going to require software that you can't do. Even if you are the best, you still have to depend on the the software to correct that photograph.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. Like, if your click is really good, like you just said, like you need like just a little bit editing, but not more than that would be necessary, right?
Yeah.
So one more thing I would like to ask you to just tell all the people who have already started their, their field as a photographer, in the field of photography, any tips or techniques on how to maybe get your first client? Because I think this is something which people say, oh, do we just make a portfolio and go, or do we just walk up to architects and tell them, we can do this? So I guess that is something which will help a lot of students.
Okay, I'll tell you two things. First, I'll tell you when social media wasn't there, how I managed to get clients was you tell your friends and your relatives and find out if they have any architect or designer in their family. Take the contact number, call that person, fix an appointment, meet him. Now, anybody who is an architect or an interior designer never passed out of a college all alone. In his batch, he must be having at least 8 to 10 friends who are working in 8 to 10 different firms. So if that guy is okay with your work, ask him whether he can recommend you some more designers who are looking out for photographers. Take their names and number, and that's how things used to multiply. So you meet 5 people, from those 5 people you meet another 15 people, from them you get more contacts, you get the chance to meet another 25 people. There is a good amount of rejection that will happen. A lot of people will tell you that no, we already have a photographer, if we need somebody, we'll meet you. But it was then. Today you have your Facebook, you have your Instagram account. Keep a separate account for your professional work and keep a separate account for your personal activities.
Yeah.
On your professional account, start posting your work regularly and start developing a portfolio, and keep checking on the social media. All the architects, most of the architects and designers are available on social media. You have to search for them. You have to send them a direct message. You can send them a link of your page and you can tell them, please go through my work. I'm interested in shooting for you. Eventually, you will get some break. That one break, you have to make sure you cash it.
That's the best one. And then it multiplies for you from there.
Yeah, and we assume that our friends and relatives know what we are doing. That's a myth. When I first opened my Facebook page and I invited my architects with whom I was working for like over maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they themselves said that they never knew that I do all this other work also. Because beyond, this was just at the beginning of the Facebook in India. So they said because beyond what I had shot for them, they never bothered to read under a magazine article who was the photographer.
Oh my God, yes.
So they had seen my work, but they still had no clue it was done by me until I started posting it on social media. So be blunt, be shameless, post it on social media, call up your friends, call up your relatives, tell them you want to make a career into this, and I'm very sure you will get your break.
Wow. I mean, that's such a beautiful piece of advice you have given. Particularly, like just a small brief of when I teach my students skills, right? Like SketchUp, Lumion, Photoshop, the things that they use as an architect or an interior designer, or even those who are not architects and interior designers. I always tell them, you have learned one thing with me, right? And you like it. You like just modeling. Like there's nothing bad in that. You like 3D modeling. You like creating views. I mean, even you know how big 3D visualization is as a field. So I
Huge.
tell all of them that, just start an Instagram page. This is one thing. I just, even when I started the institute, I think the Instagram page is what tells people, first of all, that this guy is in the field. And now we can send people to him. We can contact him for this work. We can get in touch with him. This is, I think, and coming from you, this puts so much credibility in that particular idea.
It
Thank you so much for
it
sharing.
also helps you multiply the viewers in no time.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I had to carry my portfolio from studio to studio. There was time when I could do hardly 4 appointments in a whole day because all 4 appointments were in 4 corners of the city. Now you can send 100 emails in 15 minutes.
Yeah, very true.
So in fact, the struggle has become easy. But yes, first of all, develop a portfolio. Take an advice from the people you meet, whether your portfolio is good or whether you want to make it more, or what are the mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. Only when your portfolio is appreciated by somebody who's already in the field, then start approaching the big guns. Till then, meet the smaller designers who do not have budget but who definitely want to get their project shot. That is your practice round.
Yeah, definitely. Before I just go ahead, we have one question from one of our viewers again. In design shots, that's the Instagram handle. So I think he's already or she's already into photography. Basically, they wanted to know when while clicking a photo, what is the difference when what should we keep in mind when it comes to natural lighting and artificial lighting? I think you've answered a part of this before
I have answered a
previously.
part of it. See, now there is also a trend of shooting it in completely natural lighting. Okay, so for which you take a little help. If you want, you can use a flash, but make sure that it doesn't reflect from anywhere. But only if you have ample natural light, it makes life easy. Otherwise, if the light is coming only from one side, there will be a lot of shadows. So that's where the ambience light and the natural light, if you use as a combination, it gives you the best output. At the same time, the effect wise, I personally prefer that effect where, the amalgamation of both natural and ambience light is highlighting. So it gives you a feel of both, how it will look little in the day or little during the evening or twilight or whatever. But yes, during the day, if you're shooting, the daylight dominates a little, but that's fine. It still keep your artificial lights on because they will cover the small corners where there are shadows.
Yeah. So that's, I think that is the really like, I mean, yeah, there is going to be a difference when you're taking, and as you said, people are now trying to kind of only have shoots in natural light as well, which makes it give a little natural look to the entire building. Do you think so?
The feel of the natural light shoot is very different. And yes, it is very beautiful also. So if you can shoot in natural light, you are lucky to get a site which has light coming from 2 or 3 sides, then yes, it's amazing to shoot in the natural light. But depends from city to city. I live in Mumbai. The natural light, the windows are small. There are no balconies. The natural light is very little. So you have to struggle a lot to shoot in natural light.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I think we'll take up this one last one, which is asked right here. What should a portfolio contain? Like, I guess he's asking, should it just have interior as well as architecture? Should have some natural shots as well? What would impress a person hiring that particular student or the particular photographer?
Portfolio should be versatile as well as at the same time it should be your best work.
Sure.
So on a project, if you shot say 50 images, but you agree 15 out of them are your best, then only carry those 15 because that's your best, and carry everything. Carry artificial light, carry natural light, carry combination light, but it should be restricted to the same field. You can't go for an interior design meeting with your fashion portfolio or your lifestyle portfolio. You can't. And you don't know what might impress your client.
Yeah.
Okay, you're meeting different people every day. So when they say no, like if I want, I study first what my client is doing. If he's into only commercial properties, then I will never show him my residential work.
Okay.
Because it's a waste of his time. I'm losing his focus as soon as I open a residential project.
Definitely.
So learn your client. It's not difficult. Go to your client's portfolio. He has posted his work. It's very easy to understand what kind of work he likes. If most of the work is shot in the daylight, carry your daylight work or share your daylight work with him. If he's shooting only in the indoor lights, carry your indoor work with him. So it completely depends from client to client. But as far as you are concerned, you should be able to shoot everything, and everything should be a part of your portfolio.
Okay. Definitely. I mean, you're correctly saying, like, if you're going to a real estate guy or builder, you'd want to show him that, okay, this is the things I've done. I'm not going to show you exterior,
So
different.
So let me just take it to the next level and explain that a same project, if you're shooting for a designer, a contractor, or a builder, or a supplier, that is somebody who has supplied furniture or something, the requirement is different from the same project.
Correct, definitely.
Okay.
So do you get to make all of them different clients?
So you should know who's your client.
Wow.
So when you're shooting, your composition depends upon whether your client is architect or interior designer. If your client is interior designer, then if you are still highlighting too much of architectural elements, then people will start appreciating architecture more when he's presenting, which is not done by him. So it's a loss.
Very true.
Okay, so you should make sure that the architect works as complementary, but the interior gets more emphasis.
Okay.
So you should, and same thing about the contractor, you should hide, you should show more of the work of this, where the civil is seen, where all the, all the work that he has done gets highlighted, because he wants to show that we are capable of doing all this. So within the same project also, depending upon who's your client, the composition change. So how you shoot a residence for a designer, you can't shoot it the same way for a builder. A show flat, you can't shoot the same way.
Yeah.
Builder is more interested in showing the space, but the design is a part of it. Designer wants to show the design within the space.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
it changes. It changes how you look at the project depending upon who's your client.
Okay. And I would like to ask you a personal question that which was one of the which project of yours you seen which was very difficult for you, even for you? I mean, I know you take up all kinds of works, and I know we have all seen your works. It's amazing. But for you also, was there any certain project? Is it architecture, is it interior, is it commercial, residential? What is it which maybe even you say that this is going to be a little tricky today?
See, where like 2-3 things where your client wants the place to look different than how he has designed, where suppose he has done a lot of lighting, but he says, no, I want all the lights off. There is a very little light coming from outside, but I still want to shoot it in the existing light. Yeah, it becomes quite challenging to expose the place that time. But you learn it with time, because when you're shooting, you know what software to use and which are the parts you're going to correct to make it look a presentable image. What I find most difficult is that to shoot from heights.
Okay. From height.
So when you're from height. So when you are doing architecture, there are times when you have to climb on the ladders. You have to sometimes climb and stand on the water tanks. Sometimes they provide you cranes and you are hanging like almost 70-80 feet in the sky. That's the most difficult part I find, but I still do it.
Yeah. I guess you have a passion for it. That's why you personally also do it. Have you employed like the other people who click along with you, or is it just you who manages all the click?
As I told you, I'm not a trained photographer. When somebody requests me, I do allow them to come with me for a few shoots. But if they ask me questions, I can answer. But if you're expecting me to teach, I'm very bad at it.
No, not teach. Like, as in, do you have people who click along with you as a team, or do you?
No, I'm a one-man show.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Because I know I've of course gone through some of the architects and interior designers you've worked with, and it's just like amazing that you can work with such.
Frankly speaking, photography can be a one-man show. The architecture is the difficult part. So it's already done by somebody else. All you have to do is go there and shoot it.
Definitely.
So you're doing the easy part after they finish the difficult part.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. While you, like in the last 25 years, you have dealt with many projects. You have, I think, developed your skill also while the years have gone by. Any particular people or person or someone who was like an idol or a motivator to you, or someone you respect at the time, followed a lot, someone like that who you would maybe just like to?
I think as you grow, your idols keep changing. Not I won't say the idols keep changing, but the people you follow, you keep changing. The trends keep changing after every 3 years. If you have seen the work, every 3 years the trends change. Those who don't change with the trend, they are left behind. So you have to stay with the time, and you have to keep changing your trend. So I don't mind saying that sometimes I learn from the work of somebody who's absolutely new in the field, and the way they look at the project, and you go like, wow, I never thought it this way. So it's a continuous learning project. There are people who have helped me from beginning of my project till now. Okay, there is no doubt about that. Without their support, I would not have achieved what I have right now. I have named them in various interviews also. But fact remains is that you have to keep yourself updated with the trends, both the design trends, styling trends, and also photography trends.
Definitely. So you should always be updating yourself with all the latest things, and I think moreover, build your style, right? Would that make sense for a photographer? Build your
See,
style, build the way you click.
if you do not, see, first of all, in this field, it's very difficult to copy.
Okay.
Okay, because the project that I am getting and the project that somebody else is getting, even if in the same building, they have no relation with each other, so there is no fixed formula. That's why understanding the design, understanding the lighting, the styling elements is very important to you, to understand how the composition happens. That's where I said the architects and designers have a cutting edge, because they have already learned it. If they want to become photographers, they already know. Okay, so there is no fixed formula. So you can't copy anybody, because every site will give you a different challenge. You have to think in a different manner, depending on the lighting, depending on the materials used. You have to see what are the reflections, where are the mirrors, maybe what are the shapes, what are the materials used. Sometimes, like people ask me, what is an eye level? I said the eye levels keep changing. If there is more detailing on the ceiling, the eye level goes a bit higher. If there is more detailing on the flooring, the eye level comes a bit lower. In a commercial space, if the workstation is has a 4 feet wall, then the eye level goes at 5. If it has a 5 feet wall, the eye level goes at 6. So everything is very different. Every time you have to go there, watch the space, and decide this is what I'm going to do today.
Yeah, correct. It's all going to be different all the time. I mean,
and that's the fun. That's the best fun part about the thing, is that you don't get to shoot two things ever which are similar.
It's always new.
Every day you get to shoot something new.
Yeah, yes, that's true. So I think this was amazing. First of all, thank you so much for answering so much questions. I mean, and taking out the time to being with us again.
It was my pleasure.
I got so many, I think, thank you requests from people telling me that, wow, you have called Prashant Bhatt. I mean, we're so excited. And I'll just do one last question, if that's okay.
Sure, 100% okay.
Thank you. How do you deal with reflections while you take interior photographs?
When I started, mirrors and glass surfaces I used to hate them. Okay, because I didn't know what to do with it. The more you start playing with it, you will realize that reflections and the glass surfaces allow you to make a unique composition.
Yeah.
Now, how to use that, I can't tell you on this thing, but because every time a mirror is used in a very different fashion. Okay, a mirror or a glass or anything. But I'll tell you one thing for sure: make sure you or your camera doesn't reflect into it when you're clicking.
Actually, that's what was in my mind also.
And don't think that let it reflect. I'm going to correct it on Photoshop. It's not possible. I mean, in some cases it is, but in not every case it is possible to. So as far as possible, your eye level or your camera level should be below the reflection, or your tripod and your camera should be just outside the reflection of the thing, and make sure that the reflection in the mirror also has a meaning. You know, within the mirror, the reflection you get, that itself is a composition. And if you want to see, please visit my page. Please visit my page, and you will see how easily you can use the mirror to make the room look even bigger or more creative.
Okay, I guess that's a very good design point also for a lot of interior designers to maybe take up. Have you ever thought of maybe putting your hand into interior design? No, no one get that.
People ask me this question many a times, that why do you think you will be able to design because you've been shooting it? I tell them, I've been eating biryani. I've been eating biryani for 40 years, but I still can't cook it. So, so it's much easy to eat it rather than try to cook it.
And also, I think you should just the way you're passionate and staying focused. You left fashion, you left everything just to focus on this. Will take you to levels I don't think if you try to do everything.
If you want to reach that level, I think you should be focused. There are people who are multi-talented and can do multiple things very easily. I am not one of those. So it's not like I'm trying to look condescend them, or saying that, oh, you can't do those things. No, definitely, if you are capable, do it. But if you want to make a career, at least at the initial stage, I will suggest give 3 years to this field. Within 3 years, I'm very sure you will reach somewhere.
That's really good advice. I think what you just said would motivate a lot of people to.
Because one thing I've seen is that people give up within 1.5 years, and I don't think that's struggle. I don't think that's struggle.
They feel that they have struggle, they're not getting works, but that one thing needs to click.
I suggest at least give 3 years. If you still can't, then consider doing something else. But if you're not giving your full time to it, you don't want to give more than 1 year to the field. Not even 1 year. I've seen people dropping in within 6 months and 8 months saying that this is not working out. I don't think it will work within that short span.
But again, Prashant, I think that's true for all fields, like all.
It's for all the fields. It's all the fields. I'm not saying only photography. I'm telling. That's why I said there is a struggle, and you should be prepared for it. Nobody serves on the platter. If you think that that's how I got it, or somebody else who's successful got it, no, there was a hardship. There was a lot of struggle, and it was fun. I don't see, that struggle makes you who you are eventually.
True. Actually, it does. And it gets you to learn many things which you would not learn if everything was just given to you, maybe.
It teaches you when to say no. It teaches you what to accept. It teaches you, okay, this is where I had failed last time. So either I improve or I say no to the work of this nature because I don't know anything about it. So like I can't shoot products. So if you give me an interior design site and if you tell me that, Prashant, you have to shoot the sofa separately and the dining table separately and the chairs separately, I say no. Even today, I say I'm not good at it. So within the exactly. So within the field also, what are your plus points and what are your minus points.
Thank you. Yeah, that I think that's going to actually remove a lot of problems from a lot of people's minds. I have, like, as you just said, like your friends and family, like in the starting, that they might not understand what is it that you're doing. I have heard that so many times, and actually I have a lot of students who have come, and when we just did the interiors for an institute, we got a student to come and actually click photos. And I was like, why don't you do this full time? You're so good at it. And he's like, my parents are not going to let me do this. They want me to be an architect. I said, then do it. But do it on the side as well. At least while you're studying, start your photography on the side. And once you graduate, you'll eventually know whether you need to take it full time or maybe get into it for a year and then try to take a decision.
See, I will never tell anybody to leave their architectural or design education halfway to pursue photography. I'll always tell you, complete your education. You can do photography side by side. You can learn photography side by side. And once,
Yeah.
because I think the complete education will make you a different and a confident person than somebody who left. Because, I wouldn't recommend quitting it halfway just to pursue photography. You should always have a backup plan in case it doesn't work for you. So that's where the
Definitely.
education is going to help you, and it shouldn't be too late. By the time you realize photography is not working, it's not like you can go back to architecture after 3 years.
True, very true.
I mean,
But yeah,
architecture education. I'm not talking about architecture. You can always go for architecture.
yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Prashant. That has been
Thanks.
amazing. People would be benefited by what we have, and we'll be putting this on IGTV as well as on our YouTube channel. I'll share it with you as well. And
Please
I
share a
guess-
link with me.
Definitely, definitely. I think this will actually help a lot of people, and I'm so happy again. Just let me say thank you again for being here. with
Trust
us.
me, Raj, when I accepted this, I accepted it so that those who are looking to understand the basics about how to start this profession should get some knowledge, should feel motivated, and should start taking it seriously that, you know what, I can do it. This is all I need to do it, and I can start, because I feel there is a lot of scope in this industry, and I think more and more youngsters should come to this industry.
Very true, very true. Thank you so much, Prashant. It was wonderful talking to you. I hope we have something more in the future to talk about, and I'm sure it's going to help us out a lot again. Thank you so much.
Anything. If I ever come to Nagpur, I would love to visit your institute.
Yes, definitely. We're honored to host you here. And thank
I
you so
would be
much
more
for
than
joining
happy.
us.
So whenever I have a next Nagpur visit, I will inform you in advance and we'll plan something.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Prashant.
Thanks,
It was
Raj.
great
Thanks a
talking
lot.
to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So guys, that was Prashant Bhatt. You guys heard him. He has come up from his own self. He has developed his own talent, his own skill. He has completed more than 27 years in this field of architecture and interior design photography, worked with some of the best designers, and as you heard him, he has given us a lot of tips on how you guys can take up the field, get your first or second client, as well as not just do that, but start to grow in the field as well, and tips and techniques where you guys can actually, develop your entire skill as a photographer. So thank you so much for being here on this Ace Talks. And I hope it was helpful. If you guys have any comments, I will be tagging his profile after this on our story as well. Prashant Bhatt Photography is his Instagram handle. So thank you everyone for being here. I hope that there was a connection issue in between. I hope all of y'all came back and were able to get it. But do watch it on IGTV. We will post it in 2 parts as well as on our YouTube channel. And as I always say, that we will be calling in more people to help you guys out with the skills that you guys really want to develop. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will see you guys in another Ace Talks next week, again live at 7. Take care. Thank you, everybody.